Welcome to the All for the Gators podcast.
Gentlemen, how you guys doing today?
I'll be doing a little better if the Gators played better last weekend, but very thankful. Thank you.
Well, season's over. You can exhale.
Yeah, now we get to see what bowl game we land in this year. We are still bowl eligible.
Yes.
Who are they? They're rumored to be playing.
I haven't even looked yet.
Do you guys know?
Doesn't it seem like we play Michigan every year? Did we play them like 4 of the last 7
It won't be
years?
them. It won't be Michigan.
It won't be Michigan, right? They got other plans?
I don't know. What I do know is we completed our fan favorite Gators linebacker bracket, and the winner was Mr. Brandon Spikes.
Wow, good choice.
I saw that.
Our listeners know their stuff.
Yeah, he beat another Brandon Siler in the finals. Man, I got a lot of people angry on the social medias.
They didn't like that it came down to a Brandon Bowl, a battle of the Brandons?
Did they say it was BS?
Well,
Yeah, there's a lot of BS in the finals there, right?
well, there were people that were mad because this linebacker from 1967 wasn't in the finals. And I had to explain to them that, well, maybe that person was an All-American a couple times and probably deserves to, if it was a best linebacker ever bracket, be further in the tournament. But this is a fan favorite, and probably the people using social media aren't the same people that were watching Gator games in 1967, right?
That's probably fair.
Probably a safe bet.
Makes sense.
But to our older listeners, we're sorry we didn't get more of those votes for you there. So stick with us.
Yeah, they got angry at me. It was fun. We had a good time.
Hey, at least there's interaction, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's what it's all about. One of the biggest upsets in the fan favorite Gators linebacker bracket was, well, I can't say, because then you would know who the guest is today.
Oh, you're talking about
See what I did there?
round one? Oh, okay.
But listen, I told our fans, our listeners, hey, by the way, we broke 500 followers on Twitter today.
Wow.
No way. Wow, that's a big number.
And I'm not one of them.
Is it? I don't know. I feel like Eddie Vedder when he took the Grammy in '96. I don't know what this means. I don't think it means anything. 500 followers. There's people with like 20,000 followers. But I guess we've been doing the show for about 2 months, so that's not so bad, right?
No.
500 feels like a good start. And that can't all be my mom. So it's good to know there's some other people listening.
All right, guys. Oh, so what I was going to say was, I told our followers on social media that we're going to do another bracket challenge in December. And the bracket challenge for December is going to be, are you guys ready?
Ready. Drum roll.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have any sound effects. What do you think this is? This is a Mickey Mouse operation.
I don't know. I just watched Christmas Vacation and thinking about drum rolls. Drum roll, please.
All right. Our December bracket is going to be most iconic Gators photo.
Okay.
Oh.
So start thinking about that. I know there's a few out there that come to mind. There's probably a few out there that we've forgotten about. So once again, our listeners are going to comment and like the photos. That'll set the seating, and it'll get underway in December.
And they'll get angry with you.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Another reason for them to tell you how wrong you are.
That's right.
So, John, who we got coming on our show this time?
Today's Gator Great is really famous for one big play in one big game, but he was an anchor on defense for the Gators for all 4 of his years. He was there. He was born just southwest of Orlando in Bartow, Florida, where at South Sumter High School, he was a 3-time first-team All-State selection, earned All-American stripes, and by his senior year was nationally recognized as one of the top linebackers in the entire country.
Wow.
But gentlemen, this guy was an athlete. He played linebacker, quarterback, tight end, defensive end, safety, kick returner. And he averaged over 10 yards a carry as a running back.
Wow.
In 2003, he brought his talents, no, not the South Beach. He turned down the U and Florida State. He came to the Swamp. And there, he would go on to start 42 of 49 games he played in. He was named to the 2003 SEC All-Freshman team, stamped his name on the Bednarik and Butkus Awards watch lists, and was first-team All-SEC by his senior year when he helped bring the national championship home to Gville.
All right.
This man, number 30, in the orange and blue, seemed to be running down quarterbacks and running backs for losses on every damn play. Ladies and gentlemen, Gator Nation, I give to you the man, the myth, the helmetless legend, Mr. Earl Everett.
Wow.
All right.
How you guys doing?
Good.
Earl, welcome. A quick question. No middle name. I couldn't find a middle name. When I give these introductions, I like to make them proper and, use the King's English and full names, but I couldn't find yours. No middle name?
You actually know it. It's Earl.
Oh,
Yeah, my first name is actually Robert, but I go by Earl.
okay.
Oh, all right.
I give to you
Oh, here
Robert
we go.
Earl Everett. I fix a lot in post production.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's right.
geez.
So cool to have you on with us, Earl. A true Gator legend, a national championship. Do you bust out that natty ring for the holidays, like Thanksgiving? Where's that ring?
It's in the room. I bring it out on big games. I coach at my alma mater, my high school, South Sumter High School. I coach football there. Been coaching there for 10 years, coaching and working there for 10 years. So every once in a while, the kids ask me to bring it out. So I'll bring it out on big games and, give them a little motivation.
Is the team still playing?
No, we lost last Friday in the third round to Coco.
Had a nice run.
Yeah, had a nice run. Finished the season 12-1, and
Nice.
got a bunch of young kids, man, and they are already in the weight room and getting ready for next season already.
So go back to Thanksgiving. Do you do the cooking?
I do a little bit of the cooking, man. I usually do the green beans and potatoes.
That's yours? All right.
I've mastered that one now. I don't know about everything else.
What kind of turkey do you guys do? We do deep fried in my house.
Deep fried, yes. We
Yeah, all right.
that's the favorite.
My family would disown me if I ever didn't do a deep fried turkey.
I don't blame them, man. I'm telling you, you can't go without
Once you have
that.
it, that's right. Once you have it, you won't go back.
No doubt.
So when I think of Earl Everett, I think of Muhammad Ali saying, "I'm a bad man." I don't know why. It just that's what comes to my mind. And you were in high school. You played every position, no joke. And the acclaim obviously came from linebacker, but you were even playing quarterback in the playoffs. My question is, what position did you enjoy playing the most if it wasn't linebacker?
To be honest with you, I would have to say quarterback. It was a position that, well, first of all, I never played linebacker all 4 years in high school. I was, more of an athlete, kind of just played everything. I was never stationary at one position, but I got, put into the quarterback role and hated it at first. And I think they introduced it to me as a junior. They wanted me to be the backup quarterback because they knew the kid that was the quarterback at the time was going to be a senior graduating. And then my senior year, they wanted me to be one of the main guys at quarterback. And I hated it and didn't like it at all. Loved every other position. But then going into my senior year, I actually spent a lot of time at quarterback and kind of fell in love with it. And a lot of people don't know Nebraska was actually recruiting me as a quarterback. They were the only school.
Wow.
Because we ran a lot of the option in high school. And they were recruiting me as a quarterback.
Was that soon after Tommy Frazier? Because I remember Tommy Frazier at Nebraska.
Yes, that was after Tommy Frazier. So actually, I took a visit out there. I think Frank, what's the head coach's name? Frank Solich or something like
Frank
that.
Solich, yep.
Yeah,
Yep, that was it.
He was the head coach out there at the time, and went on a visit, enjoyed it. It was just too cold. Yeah, it was 14 degrees when I got off the plane, and that was a little too cold for a Florida boy.
That's a hard
man.
sell.
It is. It definitely was, man.
So Florida was recruiting you as something on defense, or was it linebacker, or was it just they knew you were an athlete and they wanted you?
Yeah, Florida was recruiting me. Most schools were recruiting me as a defensive linebacker or either safety, but Florida wanted me to play linebacker. That was one thing they told me from the start, that they thought that I would eventually outgrow defensive back. When I touched down on campus, I was 204. So I'm playing linebacker, but kind of light at the same time.
Mhm.
Compared to all the other guys. You see a lot of the linebackers nowadays. They're 220, 215, like cover guys. You don't, at least at Florida. I can't speak for a lot of other schools, but at Florida, you don't hardly see the 250, the 240 linebackers anymore. And I get it. Different coaches have their own, the type of kids that they like to recruit for their system. But when Charlie Strong was there, he had the 230s, the 240s. I came in at 204, and when I left, I was 248.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, but you was getting the 6'3", type kids that you can add weight to, and you don't lose speed.
That's what I was going to ask. How was your speed affected? I guess not much.
Not much at all. I came in running like a 4.5. I left running like a high 4.5, low 4.6. So it really didn't hurt me much
Mm.
at all. It's just different, man. It's like, a lot of guys that you see now, they're like more of smaller, faster cover
More
guys.
dynamic.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Sure.
You
Sure.
don't have those big, long, rangy guys, anymore.
Sure.
I played with Brian Crum. He was 6'4", 235.
Uh-huh.
Brandon Siler was 6'2", 240, 245. By the time he left. Channing Crowder was 6'2", 240 something. You know what I mean? All these guys were big guys, but guys that can. Brandon Spikes was a young pup coming behind me and Siler. He was probably like 250,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere around that by the time he graduated. But once again, a 6'3", 6'4" guy. Like I said, you just don't see that anymore at UF.
So you came to Gainesville in 2003, and you mentioned some of these guys. Pretty crowded, impressive linebacker room.
Right.
Pretty stacked. I mean, Ferrier, Jackson, McCullough. You mentioned Channing Crowder, also a freshman. What was the competition like? Just to get the coach's attention and get on the field. What do you remember about that?
And it was, I tell you what, you had to have a strong mind, because all those guys were tough. You know what I mean? No matter how far they made it, after UF, all those guys, Fleming, like you said, Todd McCullough, Travis Harris, all those guys were tough, man. And Channing Crowder was a guy. Everybody knew he was tough, but Channing was a guy that taught me a lot, about the linebacker position because I was an athlete coming into college, didn't know how to use my hands, shedding blocks and all that stuff. Like I said, I played a lot in the secondary, but I never had to do that versus 300 and something pound linemen. So he taught me a lot, and you had to be a war daddy, man. You couldn't go in that meeting room and be a slouch, man. They made you tough. You hung out with those guys. You went and bowled with those guys to the bowling alleys. I mean, they held you accountable.
Coming in with Channing Crowder, both freshmen, did you find yourself competing with him a lot? I know you said that he was teaching you, but did you find yourself in positions where you're competing against each other and it's making you better?
Yeah, especially like in drills. Like I say, Channing was a bigger guy, but Channing moved well.
Well, he used to chase and wrestle boars, right?
Yeah, they took me out there a couple times.
Oh, they
Oh
did.
yeah.
How'd you do?
Oh man. I got chased my first time, and I stayed away from it for a while, but eventually ended up going back. But
Oh man.
Shannon was a guy that he had a high motor, and we're talking about a guy that probably he tore his meniscus, had surgery one week, and played the following week with a brace.
Wow.
Warrior.
Didn't miss a game, and he tore his meniscus and played the following week after surgery. You know what I mean? So you're talking about toughness, man. Those were the type of guys that I was around that kind of helped mold me into the player I was. And I give them a lot of credit for that, man. I was never a cocky kid coming in. I always gave respect. There's a guy named Dwight Jackson, right? And I respect Dwight. Shannon played the mic, I played the wheel. And I'm working my way up the ladder, and I was behind Dwight Jackson. And this is a true story. And I would ask Dwight, for help here and there. And Dwight would tell me the wrong thing on purpose, the
Oh,
wrong answer on
jeez.
purpose. And I was, I'm a young buck. I wasn't catching on. I'm trying to find my way into, I'm trying to gain weight, and I'm trying to, crack my way on the field. I'm hustling,
Master the position.
master
Yeah.
the position. I'm doing, what I'm supposed to on special teams. Now I'm trying to, and I got yelled at one day in practice, and I'm like, okay. And one day Channing, for doing the wrong thing, and I'm looking back at the white, he's back there laughing, so. So Channing came to me one day and he said, "Bro, listen, man." He said, "If you got a question about anything, ask me." He said, "Don't worry about asking anybody else." He said, "Because there's a reason they're telling you the wrong thing, you know." And
Yeah,
and
sure.
from that day on, anytime I had a question, I went and asked Channing. And it was funny because the White hurt his tailbone in practice. I worked my way up to second string. I started out as third string, worked my way up to the second string spot, and Dwight hurt his tailbone. and I ended up starting my freshman year, like second, third, fourth game of the season, and started from there on. And when he got back healthy, he was like, "Hey, fresh meat. Hey, man, let me get some of those reps with the ones." I'm like, no, because while you was back there acting like you were hurt, I was taking reps with the ones and twos. I'm dead after practice. I don't work my butt off. I'm like, no. And my coach, Bill Miller, much respect to him too, man. And he told me, he said, listen, he was real hard on me. He said, if you ever get an opportunity to get out there on that field and you take somebody's spot, he said, you better not give it back. And that was always in my head.
Well, let's talk about that year. You do start 6 games your freshman year, like you said, and you finish with 52 tackles, and you're named to the SEC All-Freshman team, voted on by coaches. But the Zook-led Gators have a disappointing season, dropping 5 games that year,
Right.
losing close ones to both Miami and FSU. Were you regretting your decision to come to UF over those schools at this point, despite your individual success?
No, definitely not. Well, my top 2 schools were, when it came down to my last 2 was Miami and UF. And, losing to Miami, down in Miami that year, it set a little fire under me. But I knew in my heart that I was in the right place. But like I said, being with the guys that I was with, Channing, Travis, and Todd, and I mean, they were guys, we got to get back in here. We got to get better. We got to get better at watching film. We got to be students of the game. And that was mostly our focus was to get better after that season. We knew a lot of mistakes we made, and we knew we had to get better as a defense. So my heart was always with the University of Florida.
That's good to hear.
So you talked about working harder and putting in more focus, after that year. So the next year, you really start to take over at linebacker. You start 11 games, play more plays than any other Gator linebacker, lead the team with 4.5 sacks. You got 51 solo tackles, 74 total. But the team loses 5 games again that year, including another loss to Miami in the bowl game. I guess the question is, how frustrating was that year for you, knowing you guys put the extra work and kind of still came up short?
It was very frustrating, man. And throughout the year, you got the fire run, Zook.com, and you got all this stuff going on, and rumors, floating around that the guy that brought me in wasn't going to be there the following year. So now it's like, okay, who's the next guy? Do I follow Zook wherever he goes? Is he getting another job after this?
Well, we spoke to Ben Troop, and he talked about his relationship with Ron Zook and said, at first it was very rocky. They almost came to blows. And he said, after some time, he became pretty close to Coach Zook, and Coach Zook actually taught him a lot of life lessons. So what kind of relationship did you have with Coach Zook?
I had a great relationship with Coach Zook. Loved him to death, man. And when he left, I mean, there was a few of us that wanted to go with him. You know what I mean? We were ready to leave, because Zook was gone. Probably the reason most of us stayed, especially the defensive guys, was because of Charlie Strong.
Mm-hmm.
Those were 2 guys that we, built great relationships with. And Zook was a big part of the reason why I went to UF. He was the one that came down and sat on my grandmother's couch and, had, multiple conversations, sitting talking with her, and, she trusted him. That guy, he could talk a chick out of check, man. I mean, he's he's that good of a recruiter. You know what I mean? And like I said, he come in your house and sit down for 20 minutes and your parents fall in love with him. So, to see that happen, and then being a young buck at the time, it was like, I've never been in this situation. Like, what happens next? Is the next guy going to like me? But eventually we was like, we're going to stay, we're going to compete. I've never been afraid of competition. It was just, what do we do? And Charlie Strong kind of helped us out, with kind of steering us in the right direction and telling us, everything was going to be all right. And, as long as you work your butt off and continue doing what you guys are doing, that, things are going to be all right. When a new guy come in, you just got to trust the process. And that's what a lot of us did,
Before we get to the Urban Meyer days, let's take a look back at those Miami teams that had the traitor, Brock Berlin, future NFL Hall of Famer Frank Gore, and maybe soon to be Hall of Famer Devin Hester.
Right.
How were those guys to defend?
Oh, man. Most of those guys are older than me, so watching them the previous year in high school, as a senior in high school, you watch Devin Hester in the Peach Bowl ran a kickoff and a punt back on us, and nobody touched him. Clearly, the fastest guy I've ever seen in pads.
Faster than Harvin?
I put him right up there with him, and
Woo.
practiced a lot with Harvin on the field. Now, Harvin was a different breed too. I put them right up there together, but I give Hester the nod just because. Now, I played with a young Harvin and played against an older Hester. You know what I mean? So when I left, Harvin probably got a lot
Sure.
faster. You know what I mean? But at that time, when I played against an older Hester and played with a young Harvin, uh, I got to give it to Hester. Nothing against Harvin.
He's got the wisdom, being older.
Yeah, man. But like I said, this man ran a kick and a punt back on us, and nobody touched him neither time. Nobody laid a finger on him. And I'm running behind him in Peach Bowl in Atlanta. I'm running behind this guy, and he's steady pulling away. He's 20 yards in front of me, and I slowed down, and Strong chewed me out and asked me, why did I stop running? I said, Coach, you run behind him. I'm not catching this dude, man.
He was gone.
But yeah, man, that was a special group of guys down there, man.
Well, aside from Devin Hester, were there any guys that stick out in your career that you hated playing against, or anybody that you got extra excited to play against that you felt like you owned them?
I always, and we didn't play Miami every year, but I always wanted to play against Tyrone Moss because on our visit down to Miami, he had so much to talk about, because they were really trying to reel me in down there, and I was telling those guys, listen, I'm not sure, I'm not ready to make my decision. Oh, you don't want to win, you don't, he just kept saying stuff, and I don't like people that do a lot of talking like that. But so I always wanted to play against that kid, even though, like I said, we didn't play him every year. But the toughest running back I've ever played against was Joseph Adai.
Oh, LSU, right?
Yep.
LSU. His first carry of the game is the same as his 28th carry of the game. Some running backs, when you put that helmet on them quite a few times, they'll start looking for you. They'll stop running as hard, and you can kind of soften them up a little bit throughout the game. Not that kid. He comes at it. One or two things going to happen. You guys are going to have a headache after the game, or somebody's tail is going to curl up between their legs, and then he brought his hard hat every snap.
He was supposed to replace Falk, right, in Indianapolis?
Yes. Yep, I think so.
All right, so in 2005, Zook is out, Urban Meyer comes in. How does the team change at that point?
Oh, man, we needed structure. Zook was more of like a player's coach. Meyer was more, in my opinion, more of a disciplinarian. You either do it my way or it's the highway. And we needed that, there were certain guys that, weren't doing what they were supposed to. And, it was poison to the team, and Herb, some guys hate Herb, some guys love Herb, you know what I mean? I never had a problem with Urban Meyer. I did what I was supposed to do, you know what I mean? And I practice, go to class, go to my dorm room, see my tutors. We really needed that structure, and he completely changed the program around. He made everybody compete. There was always a winner and a loser. The winners ate steak and potatoes. The losers ate pork and beans and hot dogs. So, if you're a pork and bean and hot dog guy, eventually you're going to get tired of eating pork and beans and hot dogs and your buddy over there cutting up steak.
That's right.
So, from a competition standpoint, he changed the mentality. Like, he would get walk-ons that didn't do much to give us a game type look in practice. And I'm going to be honest, like, I hated that our scout team guys were going so hard. Man, chill, bro. It's Thursday. You're like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? But at the same time, it was getting us prepared. Like, sometimes our practices were literally harder than the games.
A lot of the guys we talked to say that when they were on the scout team, that was their time to shine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they played so hard. And I'm talking guys like Rex Grossman and Jabbar Gaffney, Danny Werfel, Chris Doring, Bo Carroll, they all said,
Right.
that was their time.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely was, man. And before I ended up starting my freshman year, I mean, I remember being that guy over there, on scout team, and they're like, "Bro, chill out, man. Like, what do you think you're doing?" And I'm like, "Hey, I'm trying to
Trying to get on the
get playing
field.
time." Like, "Yo,
Right.
I'm trying to get better." So at the end of the day, I respected the guys going hard like that.
Sure.
But at the same time, you like, dude, chill.
Right.
And I was friends with quite a few guys that were walk-ons, and still friends with these guys now. So I always had a lot of respect for those guys because they made those guys get up at 5 o'clock and go work out when we had to come in somewhere between 6 and 9 o'clock. So they had the early shift.
Did anybody off that scout team go on to find success on the field playing in their later years that we would know?
Um, Tony Gay was Tony Gay was our scout team running back, and he gave us hell every day in practice. And Tony actually ended up getting a couple carries in games. Played a bunch of special teams. Darian Robinson, he's from Gainesville. He was another kid that ended up getting a little bit of playing time, here and there, but played a lot of special teams. Just worked they worked their way up the ladders, man. But you guys remember? Well, Billy wasn't really on the scout team, but Billy, remember fullback Billy? Billy was a walk on that ended
Lasco.
yeah. Remember he ended up
Yep.
earning a scholarship.
Sure. I remember
Yeah,
that.
he ended up earning a scholarship, man. So and like I had much respect for Billy still to this day, man. Because he brought his hard hat every day too. I mean, and it was truly earned, man.
So that year you dominate again on defense, leading the team, 72 tackles that year, 2.5 sacks. You had 2 picks. But let's talk about Baton Rouge that year. You have 14 tackles, the most you would have in a game. So you set a personal record,
Mhm.
but you lose a close one to a rival like LSU. So how are you feeling after that game? It's got to be tough, right? You got to be torn.
um, yeah, it's definitely tough, man. To go in there and work your butt off and still end up, you come up short again. Mentally drained. That's one of those tough physical games where you just mentally just drained after the game.
Was a
Um,
die in that game?
yes, Adai was in that game. I'm not sure if Jamarcus had already left or not.
Yeah, he was another big guy.
Marcus Russell.
Yeah, yeah. It was just tough, and you're still trying to figure out ways to get better after that tough loss, and um, you know Charlie Strong, because see Charlie Strong was when Zook left. Charlie Strong under Meyer became the linebackers coach.
Okay, so he was your position coach. Okay.
Yeah, he was my position coach. It was Bill Miller under Zook, and he would always tell us, man, we got to find ways to get better. After a while, you're getting tired of hearing we're almost there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right.
So I mean, you definitely the frustration sets in, and me and Siler were, we would go and watch film, and especially after games, and we would go and watch film of other linebackers, to kind of compare ourselves and see, if we would try to find ways of getting better.
Let's talk a little bit about '05 still. So you flash some of that prowess that you had in your high school days and take a fake punt, if I remember right,
Hmm.
end around against Alabama. How
Right.
did that one feel? Is that one that you kind of reminisce a little bit? Maybe you want to take a few more snaps on offense?
I used to ask Urban Meyer all the time, let me play tight end, right? Because I knew he wasn't gonna let me play receiver, any of that stuff. And I used to always mess with him about one of my good buddies, old Tate Casey.
Oh, take Casey, yeah.
Number 84. Yeah.
Yeah, 84. And I was just as big as
Yeah.
Tate, and Tate was pretty good tight end. Um, but I was just as big as Tate was, and just as fast as Tate. And I'm like, Coach, I'm just as fast as Tate, man. Like, and he would never, nope, 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 nope. And then finally, we put a fake punt in, and every game I asked him, Coach, is possibility we're gonna run it this game? Nope, nope. And finally, he called it. He called it that game, and oh man, my eyes lit up like a deer in headlights, man. I was so excited. And I think I led the team in rushing that
You got
game.
30
So,
yards.
yeah,
So
man.
Earl Everett could have caught Tebow's jump pass. Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah, no doubt, no
That was
doubt.
Tate Casey that caught that.
That was Tate Casey that caught it. I definitely could have caught it. Like I said, I used to ask him about just random stuff sometimes. Coach, put me in for a halfback pass or something. We used to go in the stadium sometimes, and I used to stand on the 50 and throw the ball through the goalposts.
Wow.
I always had a strong arm. My accuracy wasn't excellent, you know what I mean, in high school, but I always had a strong arm. Farthest throw was 83 yards.
Gee.
Wow.
Yeah. But like I said,
That's amazing.
I wasn't your college pocket passing quarterback. I was an athlete that just had a strong arm that ran the option well.
I picture you like a Steve McNair at quarterback. Am I close?
Yeah, kind of. Yep, Cordell Stewart. That was my guy growing up watching old Cordell, and that was my nickname in high school. They called me
course.
Slash.
You had a lot of slashes in your nickname.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
You end 05 with only 3 losses, and it seemed to get back on the winning track under Coach Meyer, finishing up by beating FSU, which is always a great way to end the season, in Iowa in the Outback Bowl. Did you guys feel like things were getting better? Maybe a sign of something special was about to happen?
Yes, we definitely feel like something special was happening. We ended up getting, I want to say that year, we got Reggie Nelson that year.
Well, that doesn't hurt.
Reggie, right? You know what I mean. So we got Reggie Nelson that from Coffeyville. He was out in Kansas at a junior college. So we get Reggie Nelson that year. You got Kyle Jackson, the young buck, stepping up and playing well, and we felt like that year we made a big jump from the previous 2 years. We were still young, trying to figure it out. And like I say, Urban Meyer was cleaning house. He was really changing the program around, and it was definitely showing. It was showing in our play. Guys were competing like no other now during mat drills and off season. I mean, we could see it. We could definitely see it coming. We knew that the sky was the limit, how good we could be if everybody just bought in. That was the biggest thing.
We've talked to a couple guys from the 96 championship team. They said something similar, right? That after 95, there was just something different. Like they knew there was such a focus on attention to detail so that no mistakes weren't made. And when you got to that next year, you were ready and you're going to make that run. Is that kind of what was happening with you guys?
Yes, definitely. Me, Siler, and Brian Crum, we did something going into that next year. We might have started that year in 05, but it carried on. There was a place in Gainesville called Calico Jack's.
Oh, yeah.
CJ's.
Yeah, we would go there and eat oysters all the time on like Wednesday or Thursday nights. Started to be a little ritual, that thing that we did every week. We never missed it. Kind of a little, superstitious a little bit, but yeah, we did it every week on game week, man, and that was our thing that we thought, hey, we can't miss this. You know what I mean? We're gonna lose a game if we don't go and do it. So we kind of stuck with it, and it brought us closer together.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Eventually got to the point to where I knew what Siler was gonna do, and Siler knew what I was gonna do before each play. You know what I mean? He knew how I was gonna respond. I knew how he was gonna respond. In the weight room, we used to do wall sits, and your partner got to push a 45-pound plate all the way around the weight room. And I wasn't picking anybody but Siler or Crum, nobody else, because I knew mentally what those two kids were about. You know what I mean? If your partner if he falls off the wall, you got to bring that 45-pound plate all the way back to the start.
Oh, jeez.
So talk about guys getting in a couple scuffles over a wall set.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then how that transfers.
Yeah.
And how that transfers to the field when you're next to Siler and
right.
You guys are digging in the fourth quarter. You know what he's capable of.
Oh, yeah, I know he's not going to quit. He knows that I'm not going to quit.
So we'll talk about the national championship here in a minute, but let's first start with the SEC championship game that year. So you beat Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
It had been a long time, seemed like forever. At least that's how it felt for us. I'm
Right.
sure you guys too, since the SEC championship was in Gainesville.
Right.
How special was that one for you? And you're a team leader there. How much does that one mean to you?
Oh man, it meant everything, man. Because everybody's goal at the beginning of the season is to win the SEC championship and win a national championship, right? So, we're coming off of 4 loss, 3 loss, seasons or whatever, and it finally happens. The SEC championship game is within grasp, and you're like, oh man, like when we realized we were gonna make it to the SEC championship, it's our year now.
Yeah, you're there.
Yeah, we're here. Like we really got a chance, and of course that makes you work even harder. When you know that there's a possibility if you win this game, and this game that we can go. When the previous years it was like, man, like I don't know. Guys wanted to make it, but I don't think they believed that we could make it. Like say that year, it was just different. It was different than the other years. I mean, it was a dream come true. It's something that you go to school for, not only to get an education, but you want to be a part of those type games, the championships, the conference championships. It's definitely a dream come true.
All right, let's go back to Glendale, Arizona,
Hmm.
January 8th, 2007. It's
Hmm.
the Tostitos BCS National Championship game. Florida versus Ohio State. Now, the Gators were like a touchdown underdog, right? If I remember correctly,
Right,
going in.
right.
There was nobody giving the Gators a shot to win this game against Ohio State in the year they had. What's your team's mindset going in? I mean, there's got to be, I guess, a little less pressure, right? Because you're not expected to win. But what's the mindset going in?
The mindset going in was pretty much just like you said. Nobody's giving us a chance. Um, our co-defensive coordinator, Greg Madison, was awesome coach. I don't know if you remember that year. Most of our defensive coaches were coordinators wherever they came from. Chuck Heater, Doc Holiday, Greg Madison, Charlie Strong was a coordinator. All these guys were. So they used to bump heads, but eventually they always got it together. But going into that game, our strength coaches used to post stuff around the locker rooms of, Lee Corso, Kurt Herb Street, and all these guys saying that we don't belong on the same field as Ohio State. And, at the time, we feel like our stuff don't stink. We're like the number 2 defense in the nation and
Sure.
something somewhere up in there.
Only one loss on the year.
Only 1 loss on the year, and what really set fire on what we were already pissed, but what put the icing on the cake, we get to Glendale, and our first night in Arizona, we didn't have a curfew. A bunch of guys got together, and we wanted to go to this little bar. We told Coach we wanted to, go and hang out a little bit, and he was like, "All right, tonight you guys don't have a curfew, but the following night, it's like at 11 or something, whatever it was." So, anyways, about 10, 11 of us would go to this bar. As soon as we walk in, we see a bunch of Ohio State players. They got VIP sections,
Oh boy.
popping bottles, champagne, they're acting like
Yeah, they already
the
won,
game
right?
is already won. This is no lie. Ray McDonald, and I believe it might have been Steve Harris, but I know Ray for sure. Ray was like, "Guys, let's go. Go. Where are we going? We just got here. Man, let's just go. We don't need to be in here with these guys." And everybody was like, "You know what, bro? You're right. Let's go. We're gonna let them have this tonight because come Monday or Tuesday, whenever the game was, we're gonna show them what we're about." And we took that as disrespect.
Absolutely.
That they were,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
you know, in there popping bottles of champagne like they had. So me and Siler went back to our hotel room because we were roommates that trip, and we got in our playbooks and just started going over, asking each other questions, and I mean, stuff that we already knew, but we wanted to just sharpen our mind. You know what I mean? That way, there's no hesitation that when this happens, And the next night, our curfew was like 11 or whatever it was. 9:30, 10 o'clock, man. Silent, we're in the room, back in our books again. And we're gonna let them. I mean, we were really pissed off. I mean, it was like somebody said something about our mom or something. Like we were like that pissed off that nobody wanted to give us a
Yeah,
chance
you're going to be as prepared as you possibly
as
could
we
be.
possibly could be. And Greg Madison, he said, guys, if we play our A game, he said, won't it, I'm telling you, it won't be close.
He was right.
He was right. He was absolutely right.
Ted Ginn, something starting there in the very beginning, but once that was done, it was all us from there.
Exactly. I mean, we kept telling our offense, we said, guys, they scored on special teams. They didn't score on our defense. All right, that was a fluke. Reggie Nelson got held. You know, we're saying all this, you know, all these things to our teammates to try to get their mind off of that. You know, and it was like, and which part of it was true. They didn't score on our defense yet. You know, so we was like, guys, it's cool. It's cool. Let's ride. Let's ride. And beginning of the second quarter, it was a TV timeout, and Brian Crum picked up the ball. And you know, usually timeout, you go to the numbers and you talk to your coach. For some reason, we were still standing on the field. You know, they called the timeout, and I think we got back out there early, and the referee was waiting to start the clock, and the ball was on the ground, and Crum picked it up, and he said, "Troy, will you sign this for me?" And one of the offensive linemen said, "You guys are fast." He said, "We're not used to seeing defenses this fast." When that kid said that, I knew it was over.
John and I were in an Ohio State bar for that game down here in South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Man, we were decked out in Gator gear. I think if I remember it, there was a Gator head. There was a Gator head on the bar with us.
It was Bob Brzezinski's bar, the former Dolphin and Ohio State alum. He's got his chain of sports bar and grills in South Florida. So that was one of our places. And we went, and I had my Gator jersey on, Gator shorts, and I had one of those foam Gator heads, masks, or whatever it's called, that goes over your head.
Right.
And there was probably about maybe 5 or 6 of us in a sea of red.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And man, I was getting obnoxious. I was standing on the stool doing the chomp. The whole bar was going to just destroy me.
Oh yeah. Well, they were all over us when that opening kickoff got returned.
Right.
Oh man, they were coming at us, but it didn't last very long.
No, man, it was crazy, man. Like they really thought that, in my opinion, that they were just gonna go out there and just beat us up and down the field, man. Like, you know, a couple of days before the game, we were in the mall, and me, Crum, and a couple other guys, Carlton Metter, and we're walking, and we passed by this Louis Vuitton store. And Brian's like, "Hey, man, that's Troy Smith, and they're buying Louis Vuitton glasses." And we're like, "Man, stop playing." Sure enough, he's in there buying Louis Vuitton, and you know, just all, oh man, they thought they were on top of the world, and you know, rightfully so. You made it to the championship game. I'm not knocking that, but we were on a mission. I'd say that.
Yeah, like you said, they were not ready for the speed.
Right.
Well, let's talk about Troy Smith for a second.
Okay.
Blitz coming. Smith looking for help. None there. And down he goes. In the arms of Earl Everett, who lost his helmet chasing Troy Smith.
Helmet? I don't need no stinking helmet, says Earl Everett.
Earl says this game's too important.
This is all out. Brandon Siler flushes him, coach, and then look at the backside for soup.
Oh, man.
What a play.
I got to imagine you have that picture blown up so big on a wall in your house that it covers the whole wall somewhere in your house. Do you not?
I got one blown up that's pretty big.
Of course you do.
Got it in the man cave.
Hell yeah.
Reggie Nelson got a blown up pic. We went to Palm Beach Autographs, and we both went down to a signing at the same time. He got one blown up of me, and I got one blown up of him. And I also had one framed of myself to put on the wall. So yeah, I definitely got one blown up.
You know what I remember? The University of Florida Alumni Association magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably have a copy of it. It was like a newspaper magazine, and it was a lot larger than a regular magazine. And it was the picture was on the cover right after the championship game, and I have that somewhere, but I just remember having that up in my house for a long time.
Right. What's crazy is every once in a while I get a call from a coworker or a family member, hey, I'm down in Sarasota at the doctor's office and your picture is hanging on the wall in here. You know what I mean? And it's just awesome to, play like that didn't intentionally happen on purpose, blow up the way it did. It just makes you feel good that it's actually a picture that kind of represents, your school that you played with, that you put, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into, that people actually like it so much. You know what I mean?
People that might not be listening, that I don't know if they live under a rock, that don't know this picture, from the championship game, Earl chased down the Heisman Trophy winner, Troy Smith, from behind, like full outstretched dive, takes him down. Oh yeah, his helmet came off before he even started chasing him. So he's chasing him, and you have your dreads, out, and you just catch him from behind and put him down. And this is the Heisman Trophy winner,
Right.
and they snapped that photo. And
The
man,
rest is history, man.
The rest
I
is
didn't
history.
realize adrenaline is pumping. I'm still at this point in the game. I'm still excited. You know what I mean? Because we're up, we're winning. I also want to get off the field on third down. Uh, we really took pride on getting off the field and winning that percentage. Each game. But I really didn't realize my helmet was off until I got right up on it.
wow, just the adrenaline.
Adrenaline was pumping. I blitzed off the edge and engaged with the running back. And when I went to push off, I don't even remember him snatching my helmet. I just remember pushing off and chasing Troy. And when I got right up on him, it seemed like everything got brighter. Now, at this moment, I'm like, okay, my helmet's off, but I'm here now. Why stop?
Sure.
Like I say, it was just a crazy play that didn't intentionally happen, in a big game. It's crazy.
So it's a championship season, and you have your best year, 85 tackles, again, leading the team, first team All-SEC. How satisfying is that to have all the hard work, all your efforts on and off the field for those years leading up to that year pay off in such a big way, and you be such a big contributor to the team's overall success?
It just goes back to that. Everything you worked for. There's no better way. I'd rather go out my senior year winning a championship than winning one my sophomore year and not winning one my junior and senior year. Because you take that freshman, sophomore, and junior year, the struggles, head coaching change. Just the ups and downs. You take all that and just crumble it all together, and it made this senior year so special. The way we had to, change our mentality and start training this type of way and studying, being students of the game, just the way we got molded into that senior year was just amazing, man. And if I had to do it all over again, like I said, I'd do it all over again, the same exact way. Go out my senior year versus winning it freshman, sophomore year and not winning it again,
Yeah, that's a way to go out.
Yeah, it molded us and oh man, it's the best feeling, man. Oh my God.
One thing that
I'm still amazed.
Yeah. So one thing I can't understand, I got to ask this question. So with the tremendous success you had, essentially your entire year at Florida, I was really shocked you didn't get drafted.
Right.
I assume you expected to get picked. Was there discussions with teams that you thought were going to draft you? That one still boggles my mind with how productive you were.
Yeah, man. A lot of people didn't know. See, I messed up my ankle my senior year, third game of the season, right? High ankle sprain. And I got a shot in my ankle all the way up until the championship game. Championship game, actually, I got two shots that game. So I had and it ended up being just a bunch of bad scar tissue that was built up that was giving me problems throughout the year. Like I said, it started like the third game of the season. So when season's over, got with an agent and we talked about getting my ankle scoped. And being a competitor, I'm like, okay, I want to get this done now. That way, whatever team I get with, I don't want to miss any time.
Right.
I want to just get this out the way. So I end up getting my ankle scoped, which ended up being a bad decision. There was nothing torn, nothing broken. I was talking to teams. Some were telling me late first, early second,
Hmm.
or third, somewhere around up in there, somewhere between late first and early third. So the draft comes around. I'm talking to Seattle, Atlanta, quite a few teams, and draft's over, and I don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? I'm seeing guys get drafted that I know. And I'm usually a guy I give credit where credit's due. If somebody's a
Mm-hmm.
dude, like Patrick Willis was a dude.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm seeing these guys drafted from Maine. And from Maine, a kid went second round. And I'm like, whoa. And then I get a call from Marvin Lewis.
Huh.
The first thing he said, Mr. Everett, how's that ankle?
Oh,
I
okay.
said, oh my
That was
God.
it.
That was it. He said, man, wanted to draft you late second round. He said, but a lot of teams backed away because they didn't know what was wrong with your ankle. Now, I done went to the combine and all that stuff and ended up getting the surgery after that. Pulled my hamstring at the combine. My fastest time, laser time, was a 4.58 at UF. I run a 40 at the combine and pulled my hamstring and run a 4.8. And Marvin was like, I'm not worried about the 40 time. He said, the film don't lie. He said, teams backed away because you had surgery on your ankle. He said, but we still want to give you an opportunity. That's pretty much what messed me up in the draft.
I figured that had to be something, man. It just didn't add up.
Right. A lot of people ask me, you mad at, things didn't work out? I'm like, no, man, I've been blessed. You know what I mean? I was on another podcast a while back and I was telling those guys, I was a kid at 18 months old, was diagnosed with epilepsy. I used to come to Shands once a month for a visit, and that's how I became a Gator fan. I would ride with my grandmother from Webster, Florida on a transit bus. I would see games on at Florida, and I'm watching Danny Werfel and, all the 90s guys. I'm watching these guys on TV while I'm sitting, getting ready to get in this little machine so they can take a CAT scan and all that type of stuff, of my brain. So I never got cleared to play football, but it was just the grace of God, man. I outgrew seizures, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And ended up playing anyways because of one of my middle school coaches came and talked to my grandma. She allowed me to play as long as I didn't show any signs of fatigue. So as I got older, it changed from like a grand mal seizure to a silent type. And then on top of that, taking like 18 pills a day for ADHD and for seizure meds. When I got in high school, middle school, I was in ESC classes. And then when I got to high school, I started catching up learning wise with everybody else. My seizures, like I said, I just happened to outgrow them. So they started dropping the dosage of my medication. And my high school coach was like, hey, man, like, we're going to put you in regular classes slowly, because being in ESC, you can't get a Division I scholarship.
Hmm.
So by the time I got in 11th grade, I was in regular classes, functioning normal like, all the other students, and ended up graduating with a 3.0.
Nice. Were you off the medication by then?
I was off all the medication
That's awesome.
by the time I became a junior.
That's great. What a story. That's great.
Yeah, but Shands Hospital was that was the start of me becoming a Gator.
Very
Going up
nice.
there once a month, watching those games in the waiting room with my grandmother. That's when I became a Gator fan.
Who was your favorite Gator when you were that age? Did you have a favorite?
That age, I didn't have a favorite, but I would say growing up, I used to always like watching Taylor Jacobs. Being a kid, I remember him always catching a deep ball. that that was one thing that I
Sure.
always see Taylor Jacobs running by everybody catching a deep ball. As long as Taylor Jacobs is
Absolutely.
playing, we got a chance to win. You know what I mean? Ernest Graham, I love watching him play.
Absolutely.
Love watching Jabbar Gaffney. But Graham and Gaffney and Rex and all those guys, those are the guys that I actually grew up once I really started watching UF. Those were the guys I grew up watching. And, Mike Peterson.
There you go.
Was probably my favorite defensive player.
All right, Earl. We're gonna end with this. We're gonna do a little game. Are you up
Oh
for it?
Lord, okay, let's go.
Thanksgiving just passed. We got Christmas coming up. So if you had a holiday potluck dinner and you can invite any 3 Gator greats of any time
Oh man.
and one celebrity, who would you invite and what food dish would they bring to the party?
Oh goodness.
I'll give you a minute to think about it.
Let's see.
Do you want one of us to go first, or you think you could take it?
Yeah, I want one of y'all to go first.
All right. I'll go first. All right. So the first Gator Great I am inviting to my holiday potluck dinner is Ben Troop, because he is going to talk and tell stories all night, and there won't be, you know what I mean? The party's never going to die with Ben there. And I imagine him bringing some kind of like Southern casserole. He's from Swainsboro, Georgia, so maybe like a Southern green bean casserole or something. So that's one. My second one, I'm going to go with Rex Grossman, my favorite quarterback from UF. I imagine him showing up probably half in the bag already. I don't know if that's fair to him or not. He's bringing the turkey. It's probably a little burnt and dry on the inside, like Christmas Vacation when they cut into the turkey.
Okay.
That's his turkey he's bringing. And my third one would be Neil Anderson, the running back, who I never really got to see play. I never got to see play at UF, obviously, but I saw him play in Chicago. I think it'd be cool to, pick his brain about the Gators and Walter Payton and stuff like that. And maybe he's bringing some kind of sweet potatoes with the marshmallows on it. And my celebrity, I don't know if he counts as a celebrity, but I'm going to say Aaron Judge. He just broke the home run record. I'm a Yankee fan. So I'm inviting Aaron Judge, and he's going to bring, he plays in New York, the Big Apple. He's going to bring some apple pie.
I like it. I want to come to that feast, John. That sounds good.
Who wants to go next?
So I'll jump in. So my first one's going to be Emmett, and he's going to bring the turducken from all those Thanksgiving games.
Madden's turducken, yes.
The turducken, all those Thanksgiving games that Dallas played, he's got to bring the turducken.
Yep.
I'm going to have Tebow come. Tebow's going to come. He's going to say grace.
Oh,
and
there you go.
He's gonna bring the candied yams. He talked about those. The candied yams. He's a North Florida guy, and they know how to do candied yams in North Florida. So he's going to bring the candied yams. I'm going to bring Coach Napier. Because I want to talk to him about the team and recruiting and kind of where we're going, get his thoughts on the future.
Of course.
And he can bring his favorite dessert. And then my celebrity, he's going to come back from the dead, but I'm going to bring George Carlin.
Okay.
Because I want to hear his take, kind of like you were talking about with Ben Troop. I want to hear his take on all the craziness, because he's going to go on and on and on, because so much of his comedy skits were about some of the craziness we're seeing today. So I want to talk about that with him, and he can bring the beer or the wine.
All right, good deal. Sid?
I don't have any of the ones you've mentioned so far, so that's good.
Good.
I'm going to start with Chris Collinsworth. Feel like I've already spent a lot of Thanksgivings with him doing the broadcast, so this way he could actually sit at the table and watch the game instead of come through the TV. Any list of meeting a Gator is going to include Coach Spurrier, because to me he's the greatest. He was the Heisman. He won all the championships as a coach. And
hey, what's Collinsworth bringing? He can't come empty-handed. Potluck dinner.
Okay, he spent a lot of time in Cincinnati. So what's some good Ohio cuisine? Bring us something Midwestern.
Don't they eat the spaghetti with the hot dogs cut up in them or something?
Oh God, that sounds terrible. Maybe I don't want to invite him. This is not going well.
I don't know. Google it.
Okay, we'll look that up. All right. Coach Spurrier is originally from Tennessee, so I was thinking he'd probably get some good Southern cuisine, maybe some good cornbread, something like that. And my third choice actually ties in with my celebrity. I choose James Bates, and because I'm hoping that he brings his friend from The Waterboy as Adam Sandler to be the celebrity guest. So we got a little tie in there.
All right, what are they bringing?
Well, my favorite Thanksgiving dish is stuffing, so it doesn't matter who brings it as long as there's plenty of stuffing for me. So they could bring some stuffing, and I'm all set.
All right, you got it. All right, Earl, are you ready yet?
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
All right, let's go.
All right. So one of my Gator greats is going to be Emmett.
Good choice.
Okay.
I didn't grow up as a kid watching him, but I've watched film of him, as I got older, especially playing at UF. I went back and watched film of him. One of the greatest running backs to ever come through, if the greatest running back to come through. So
Sure.
definitely Emmett. The next,
So you're gonna bring the turducken to your house too?
yeah, I got him making a pie, man. He got I don't know what kind, but
What kind of pie? Sweet potato pie? What
sweet potato pie is my favorite.
What are we talking here? All right.
Yeah, I don't do pumpkin pie. Just sweet potato, I'm good for.
Okay, all right.
I'm sure he's old country boy, so I'm sure he can, he could probably throw down on some pie. My next Gator greats, I gotta say Channing Crowder.
Very nice.
I think Channing is right up there with Ben Troop, that always talking, keep you laughing. There's never a dull moment. He's a hunting guy that goes hunting, so I'm sure he knows a little about fried turkey.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Got him bringing the turkey. Next Gator great is, I got to go with my favorite defensive player is Mike Peterson.
Good choice.
I'm gonna have him bring some mashed potatoes.
All right.
All right, have him bring some mashed potatoes. And celebrity, I got to go with my favorite comedian, and that's Jamie Foxx.
All right.
Another guy that talks a lot and keep you laughing. He does impressions of anybody.
He could jump on the piano, belt out a tune.
He could do it all. And
Yeah.
I think I want to go to Earl's table the best. Even that's a good choice.
Yeah, I
he's-
agree.
Jamie Foxx and Channing Crowder. That sounds just grab the popcorn and watch it go.
And he's bringing stuffing. I kind of stole that one from one of you guys, but he's gonna be my stuffing man.
There you go. I'm on team stuffing with you
I
too.
want to say he spent a lot of time with his grandmother, so I'm sure he can make a stuffing himself. So
I'm sure. Yeah, he's hilarious, man. I'll tell you, we don't talk politics on this show, but if you ever hear him do his Trump impersonation, close your eyes and you don't know it's not Trump. I'm telling you,
Yeah,
it's incredible.
he's awesome. I used to watch a lot of his old stand-ups, and he would do In Living Color,
In Living
Bill
Color.
Oh, yeah.
Cosby.
We grew up on that.
That was our era.
I used to do prank calls where I would call some of my family members watching Jamie Foxx and acting like I'm Bill Cosby.
All right. I got to ask it. You got to give us a little bit of Bill Cosby, Earl.
Oh man! All right, short and sweet, just like the Jell-O pudding.
Nailed it.
I love it.
Nailed it. All right. Earl Everett. Robert Earl Everett. Today you can find him passing on his iron work ethic and championship knowledge as linebackers coach, you said, at your alma mater, South Sumter High.
Yes, sir.
Last question. Do you take any coaching strategies or techniques from any coaches you've had in your life and use it?
Yes, I do. Coach Bill Miller. I definitely take a couple things from him. As a player, one thing that kind of always stuck with me that he taught us was to near leg a defender. And it's pretty much, when you're going to make a tackle, you want to attack a ball carrier with your near leg versus your opposite leg, which kind of keeps you more on balance and gives you a little more explosiveness when you're attacking with your near leg. So I teach my linebackers to near leg defenders. Opposing offenders, running backs when they're tackling. Learned a lot from that guy. Coached Ray Lewis and a lot of those guys back down in Miami, and I think he done retired. Last time I talked to him a couple months ago, he was probably in the process of retiring. But yeah, a guy that taught me a lot, man, and I still take some of his quotes and different things that I use with my guys.
All right. Well, good luck with your coaching career and see where that takes you. And I want to say thank you, and it's been an honor to be able to have you on our show. We're all Gator alum. We're all diehard Gator fans. We watched you your entire career, especially running around that field helmetless and bringing home a national championship to us. So thank you so much for that, everything you've done on the football field at the University of Florida, and for being a part of our show. You've been more than generous with your time, and we appreciate it. So thank you very much, Earl.
Thank you, and I really appreciate you guys having me on, man. It was a pleasure. Once a Gator, always a Gator, and I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. Excellent. It was fantastic. Great stories. Great to catch up with you and learn some new things about kind of your time at Florida.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you.
Definitely.
Very, very cool, man.
These things are great. These guys are all awesome.
And Earl really had some really cool stories. You know, if you know Gator fans that aren't listening to this podcast, they are missing some really, really good stories and information, stuff that they would have never known unless they listened to this podcast. Just very cool.
You hear the camaraderie of the players, and like you could see that it showed on the field, but you could hear him describe like what they were going through, working out together, and how they built that camaraderie. I mean, that's really what it's all about.
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to do something new to close the show. Each one of us has to take a nugget away from the show. Like, what's your takeaway? That's what the nugget is. So I'm just going to go random. Andy, what's your takeaway nugget from today's show?
That's tough because I want to say he kind of got me at the end there with his story.
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, so I'll let you have that one. But I mean, I guess my takeaway is the story about the national championship game and seeing Ohio State, popping champagne in the club and how that motivated him. That was pretty awesome to hear him talk about, they went back to their rooms, studied their playbooks. The next night we're in before curfew, still studying, and then just laid it to Ohio State. So I thought that was pretty awesome.
That was pretty awesome. Yeah.
So that's going to be mine.
We all got to thank Ray McDonald, right? He said that.
Yeah.
He's the guy that said, let's go, we're leaving. So, all right, Sid, what's your nugget?
There was a lot of good stuff, but how could we not be impressed that one of the all-time greatest linebackers was recruited to be a quarterback at Nebraska? I mean, come on. That was the nugget of nuggets. So, and you alluded to Tommy Frazier. Could you visualize Earl Everett coming swinging around like some poor linebacker having to tackle him, coming moving at you? Like, oh my God.
He said he threw it 83 yards through the goalpost, right?
I believe it. It's strong.
My gosh.
Yeah.
Yes, that was a good nugget for sure.
Jeez.
And yeah, I'm going to take the nugget about the story at the end, overcoming epilepsy and the challenges he faced with all the medication and, trying to beat that and get off the medication so he can get on the field and get a scholarship. And he was able to do it.
Perseverance.
I'm going to go with that as my nugget.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, trips to a hospital, in Gainesville, Shands, he became a Gator fan by going to a hospital. It's
Great guy. Great guy.
Very, very cool. Yeah, he really was.
Yeah, he was great.
All right, gentlemen. Once again, thank you. It was another amazing show, All for the Gators. That's with the number 4, All for the Gators, A4TG podcast on Twitter. On Twitter? How about Twitter?
Twitter. Is that a new one?
I don't think I'm on that one yet.
Is Elon Musk going to rename it Twitter?
He might. I don't know. All for the Gators pod on Insta and Facebook as well. Find us there. Look out for our giveaways. Look out for our December bracket. The most iconic Gators photo. Mr. Earl Everett might be the favorite for that one. And with that, gentlemen, I will bid you adieu with Go Gators.
Go Gators.
Go Gators.